So for the end of 3.3 exponent laws lesson, we're going to do the try these now. And this is going to consolidate the 3 laws that we now know. So now we know 3 different exponent laws. So when we have this one here, and I'm going to kind of name them as I'm doing them. So this one here is the power to a power. So power to power. So let's identify them first. So this one here is power to power. So when we're doing this one, we're doing 3 times the 2 and 4. So we do multiplication. And we make sure that the number in front gets a 3 to the 3. So 3 to the 3. So that's a power to a power rule. So we're multiplying. So here, this one is a multiplication. So when we multiply, we add. We're going to add the exponents. Here, when we have power to power, we multiply those exponents. It's 3 2s. 3 times 2 would get me 6 of them. Here, when we have 5 and 2, we add them together. 5 plus 2 would get me 7. Okay, and then the division, so this one's division, so we're just going to kind of go through the 3 types here first. This one is division, and with division, we're going to subtract. So that's my brain thinking division. We're going to go 4 minus 2, and then the 1 minus the 1. Okay, so we're doing that. But the numbers act like numbers. So the numbers are treated just as a number would be. So these guys here, the numbers in front are just the numbers. So the numbers act like a regular number, but the variables have their own, have a special rule, basically, the 3 rules. So let's try this first one. So this first one here says it's 3 to the power of 3. So remember, the numbers are regular numbers. 3 to the power of 3 would be 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 times 3 gets me 27. You can do that all in one go. So these are the steps I want you to show. I also want you to get in the habit of always doing equal signs here. So we're always doing equal signs along the side. So equal, so, and then m to the 2, 3 of them. 3 times 2 would get me m to the 6. Right? And this is n to the 4. So we have 4 of them, but I have 3 4s. So that'd be n to the 12. So we're multiplying those. That's the power to a power. When we're multiplying, you do the numbers like regular. So the numbers are just like regular. So negative 2 times 4 gets me negative 8. So that's just regular numbers. So the regular numbers we treat like regular numbers. So that's what I highlighted here. Then the x's. The x to the 5 and 2, we're adding them. 5 plus 2 gets me x to the 7. We get 7 of them. For the y's, we have 4 and 6. 4 plus 6 gets me 10. So when we add it, when we multiply. So we have 4 of them plus 6 more. Okay, here, this one, what rule would this one be? Looking at it, you have a power of a power. So it's a power to power rule, which is this rule. So that means that the number gets negative 4 squared. The numbers are regular. Negative 4 to the power of 2 would be 16, positive 16. Then you go, okay, g to the 3. I have 2 of the 3, so that'd be g to the 6. So I say to my head, in my head, I go multiplication. Right, multiplication of those guys there. H to the 5, I have 2 of them. 2 5s would get me h to the 10. Okay, for this next one here. The numbers are regular numbers. So 24 divided by negative 6 is negative 4. Just regular numbers. So the regular numbers are treated like regular numbers. So that, oh, and look, I keep putting equal signs down here. So please remember your equal signs. Okay, equal signs go there. And then over here, that's power. These numbers are just regular numbers. So 24 divided by the 6. So I'm going to highlight that the numbers are just regular numbers. I just do that like normal. And then I have here a to the 4 and a to the 2. For division, we're going to subtract. So 4 minus the 2. Subtract is because we're canceling. We're canceling. I have 4 on the numerator, 2 in the denominator. I cancel 2 of them away. So I have 2 left. 4 minus 2. Here, if I have exactly the same number, so if I have the b and the b, and they're exactly the same, they cancel completely to become 1. I do not need to show times 1 here. So that's an invisible times 1, and don't show that. Right, so an invisible times, so times 1, but we don't want to show times 1, so we just leave it blank. Okay, so that's invisible Okay, you don't have to show times 1. If you do show it, you want to take it away again on the next step then. So that would be my answer. So equals, make sure you remember equals, remember equals, remember equal signs. Okay, and that's part of your communication. All right, so here, next one, let's look at this. So this one's a combination. So I've got multiplication. So we know for multiplication, it's between here, so multiply, multiply. But I've also got a power to a power, so the exponent rule. According to BEDMAS, we have to do the exponent here, this part here, because of this e here. So that would be the exponent first. That's the power to power. So we have to do that first. So the e part would be this. That goes first. Then I'll do multiplication next. So multiplication is next in the step. But I'm going to save those two here. Okay, I'm going to save those two. I'm not going to touch them. You can do it slightly differently as you get used to the rules, but for now I'm just going to save them, and I'm only going to work with this part. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Technically, you could do those together because you know it's not touching this, but a lot of people get kind of confused with that rule. So at the beginning, I say just save it, and let's just do the part that I know I have to do first, which is this. So again, the number is just a number, so we're going to get negative 5 squared. 2 negatives makes it positive 25. Then here, when I'm doing power to a power, you're multiplying. So 1, invisible 1, to times 2, I'm going to get x squared. And this is 4 times 2, 4 groups of 2, so y to the 8. Okay, now it's all multiplication, so now we can do the multiplication. So now we can do the m part, so it's supposed to be an m, sorry. Multiplication, which means we're going to add those exponents. We're going to add those exponents. So it'll be 3 plus the 6 plus the 2. But what do I do with the numbers? The numbers are just regular numbers, so let's highlight those. That's a negative 1. So imagine if you want, if it helps you, imagine a negative 1 here. So it's 4 times negative 1 times 25. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4, times 25 would be negative 100. Okay, negative, I did 4 times negative 1, which is negative 4 times 25 is negative 100. And then over here, we have x to the 3, x to the 6, and x to the 2. And we're multiplying, which means I add the exponents. So we're going to go 3 plus 6, that's 9, 10, 11. 2 more, so 11. How about the y's? I have 4 plus 5, so 9, plus 8, so 17. 17. And that's it. And remember your equal signs. So again, you always want to remember these equal signs here. Okay, so please remember equal signs here, equal signs there. So don't forget proper communication. Okay, so the next one, let's look and see what rule I'm using. It's a power to a power, right? So this is the power to a power rule here, which means I'm going to bring this in and multiply. Multiply the invisible 1. Right, so we're going to multiply times that. You don't have to put the 1, but you're imagining a 1. Okay, and this is just a regular number. This is negative 6. Regular numbers are treated regular numbers. Negative 6 to the power of 3. So negative 6 to the power of 3 is negative. 3 negatives, negative, negative, negative gets you negative. 6 times 6 times 6, and you do that on the side, it'll get you 216. Okay, so that's the number. Then, okay, then we're going to do m. If I have 3 5s, 5 times 3, I get 15 of them. I have 3 times 1, so n to the 3. And that's it. Okay, let's try another. So here, I've got a combination. So this is 2 rules at once. According to BEDMAS, okay, I have to do the exponents first. But inside the bracket actually stands for B. So when I'm talking about this one, BEDMAS, this is actually B. We're going to do inside the brackets first. So inside. So brackets. When I do the inside of the brackets first, I cover up this. I don't look at that. Okay? And I'm only looking at the inside. When I look at the inside, that's division. So division, we know, we talked about it up here, means minus. So we're going to do the division because it's inside the bracket, right? Inside the bracket's division, which means minus. So that's your brain thinking that. So I'm going to save the outside like this. So save that outside. Not going to do that yet. I'm only going to focus on the inside. So ignore the 2. We're ignoring that. We're going to just do the division. So the numbers are regular numbers. So numbers have not changed rules. You do 144 divided by 6. When you do that on your calculator, you're going to get 24. 144 divided by 6 gets me 24. Then we're going to do S's. Imagine the invisible 1. You don't have to put that, but you're imagining a 1. I have 7, and I cancel 1 away. So 7 minus 1, right, subtraction, would be S to the 6. If I have 8 here and I canceled 5 of them, I go 8 minus 5, so it'll be T to the 3. T to the 3. 8 minus 5 is 3. So that's your division. Then we're doing power to a power rule. So power, so this will be exponent, right? Exponent, which is the power to a power rule, which means we multiply. So the next step here is when you're doing this. So we're going to go this here, and that means you multiply. But the numbers are treated like regular numbers. So 24 to the 2. So 24 to the 2 is 24 times 24. When you put that in your calculator, you get 576. Okay, 24 to the 2. And again, if you want to remember, you would go 24. You can do to the power, that little arrow up, to the 2. Or you can do 24. Some calculators have a little squared button. So you press that, equals 576. So here, when you power to power means you multiply. So 2 groups of 6 would be S to the 12. And 2 groups of 3 would be T to the 6. 2 times 3. Okay, let's try another one. So always look at it to see what rule you're using first. So when I look at this one, I've got B. There's no inside of the brackets. I have E. No, that's, sorry, not E. I have D for division. So for division and multiplication. So according to BEDMAS, I have in this case, I have division, right? And I have here, this is multiplication. Division and multiplication. That's what these guys here, division and multiplication. So division and multiplication are happening. For here, whenever you have division and multiplication, you go left to right. And we learned all this, remember, when we did our review of BEDMAS rules. So left to right. So you just read it left to right. So don't do right to left. So when you have division and multiplication, you're always reading it left to right. You don't have to do division before multiplication. It's always left to right. And we talked about this in the intro numeracy sections. Okay, so if you need to review some of the BEDMAS rules in the numeracy section videos. Okay, so here we've got, so we're going to go left to right, which means I'm just going to do the first 2 this way, and then I'll do the last one after. Don't go right to left, right? And that's wrong if you go this way. So you want to go as it's written in the question is the way they want you to do it. So this one and this one. For the division, you're going to do, so division, for division, and you don't have to write this, but this is your brain thinking, I have to do minus. So we're going to subtract. But the numbers are regular numbers. So here, when you look at the number, these guys are just regular numbers. So negative 6 divided by 3. So just do that like regular. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. That's just regular. Then we have, for the rest of it, we're going to have m to the 5 divided by m to the 2. Division means subtract. So if I have 5, it would cancel with the 2, m to the 3. If I have 9 and I have 7, I would cancel 7 from the 9, so n to the 2. You'd have 2 left. I'm going to leave that in a bracket here because I still have to multiply this with the last one. So this one I haven't touched yet. Remember, we're going left to right. Now we can do these 2. And again, we're going left to right. Doesn't matter which one comes first, division or multiplication. When you have division and multiplication, you always go left to right. So now we're doing number and the number are regular, just numbers. So you're multiplying them. But when you multiply, so again, in your brain, you go multiply means I'm going to add the exponents. When I multiply, I add the exponents. So you don't have to write the parts that are in the bubble. The bubbles are your brain. So these are for our notes. And I always write down what your brain is thinking. And my last step here would be multiply. -2 times -4 would get me +8. If I have m, we're going to go m. I have 3 of them and 6 of them. We're adding them, m to the 9. N, I have 2 and 2, so I have 4 now. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Moving up, all the way over here. All right. So here, this is multiplication here. That's multiplication, but I put in an exponent. So here I have to do the exponent part first. So that's the exponent part first, which means it's power to power. You see you're doing this and multiplying. Right? But the number is -8 to the power of 2. So numbers are done regular. Oh, there's only one. I did too many little tick marks there. Sorry. It's my fault. It should just be one little tick mark there. So it's just 2 to the times here. So 2 times the 5. It should just be 1. Then we're going to keep these 2 on the side. So like I said, I like to just do this slowly. So we're going to keep these 2 on the side. So don't touch those. And we're only going to touch the middle one. So the only one I'm working on is the middle. And I'm doing -8 squared, which would get me +64. +64. And we have here x to the 5, and we have 2 5s, so it'll be x to the 10. Put that in a bracket still. If you're not sure, the bracket is fine. So do that first. Then we're going to do, so that's your exponent, which means it's power to power, but when we multiply, we're adding the exponents. Okay, except the numbers are regular numbers. There's an invisible 1 here in front, so nothing happens with that. There's a 64 and a 3. So do 1 times 64 times 3. So if you do 64 times 3, I would need some help on that one. So I do it in my head, and I'm going to do 192. So that gets me 192. Then, for the rest of it, you're adding the exponents. Excuse me, 7 x's, 10 x's, 4 x's. So 7 plus 10 would be 17, plus 4 more would be x to the 21 x's. And here I have 2 y's, no y's, and 3 y's. So then I have y to the 5. Okay, so hopefully that's making more sense. Now, also I want to note down, are you remembering to put your equals? So make sure the equals are here.
Ms. Perrone, if you're in the school, please dial 501. Ms. Perrone,
okay,
please dial 501.
So equals, 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 like that. Okay, and then this next one here, so make sure equals are all the way down. I'm going to start with my equal sign. Okay, I gave you a fun one here. So there's a few things happening. So when you get one of these questions with multiple things on the top and the bottom, so if you have just one thing on one monomial on the top, one monomial on the bottom, that's fine. But here I can have monomial, and there's powers. I want you to slow it down and treat it like 2 separate questions. Don't try to work it all out at once. So I want you only to do the numerator. We're going to treat that like a separate question. So the way I do that is I put my equals. I put my nice line right here in the middle of the equals. So make sure you start off with a nice equal sign, please. Right? And I put this line here right away. Okay, so just to start my question off. I ignore the bottom, and I'm only looking at the numerator. So slow it down. So right here, when I look at this numerator, I can see that there's a power to a power and power to power. So that's the exponent. Right? So that's the exponent rule, power to a power rule, which means we're multiplying. So power to the power. You don't have to write this, but that's what my brain is thinking, which is the exponent rule in BEDMAS. And that means we're doing this part. So I put my little box there, and that means I'm multiplying. So that means I'm multiplying those exponents like that. Also, when there's no exponent, imagine, if you will, a 1. You don't have to write the 1, but if it helps you, imagine that 1 there. You can write it and erase it later. In your rough work, it's okay to write a 1 there at the beginning. Okay, eventually you won't write the 1. Okay, but here you can put it in. In your answer, you don't include a 1, right? So you would erase that at the end, like we talked about before, but here you can put 1 there. But in your answer, make sure it's erased. That's supposed to be invisible. So let's do this in 2 parts. So these 2 here, so we're going to do those 2 separately. So we're going to do the first one. So again, just look at the first one. So we got -6 to the power of 3. The numbers are just numbers. and that's to the power of 3. So negative 6 to the power of 3 is going to be negative, so we have negative 216. Okay, just still looking at this first one. 5 times 3 would be x to the 15, and 2 times 3 would be 2 times 3 is 6. That's this first one. The second one here, okay, we're looking at this. Negative 2 squared would get me positive 4. X to the 1 times 2 would be x squared, and this is y. 6 times 2 would be 12. Okay. Now, in the denominator, we have, okay, so again, think of it like a separate question. So now do the denominator. So in the denominator here, I'm thinking of it like a separate question. I have on this one, I can see that there's a power to a power rule here. So I'm going to box that, but there's no power to power rule there, so I'm going to just write that as is. I didn't do anything to that. So I left that as is, did not touch it. I'm just going to do the orange part here. The power to power rule means when we take this guy here, we're going to do this and we're going to multiply it. So that's going to be multiply, right? So multiply those exponents there. But the 4, sorry, it's a bit squishy. The 4 is just squared. So that's going to get me, I'm going to write this one in, I'll do blue. So 4 squared would be 16. Then x, if I have 2 times 3 would be 6. 2 times 2 would be 4y. There we go. Okay, so we break it down to bits. You see how I'm breaking it down. Now, I'm still not done. So when I look at the next step, cover up the denominator so I don't get confused. Here, this is multiplication. When you multiply, you're going to add the exponent. So again, that's just my brain thinking that. So I'm going to look at the numerator only. I'm going to set my equal sign up here. I'm not going to write too big. I'll do this. So in the top, I'm going to do multiplying. The numbers are just numbers. So remember, those are treated as numbers. Number. Negative 216 times 4. Do that in your calculator. I'm going to get negative 864. We're adding 15 plus 2, so 7. Hopefully this is feeling more familiar now. We have 6 and the 12, and we have 18. Okay. In the denominator, we are also multiplying. So we're going to add those exponents. Remember, the bubbles are your brain, your thinking. So I'm going to do this. So we're going to go 16 times negative 9. That gets me negative 144. 6 and the 5, I get 11. And 4 and 1, we get 5. Okay. Now, do I have to put those in brackets? No, because there's only one monomial left on the top numerator and one in the denominator, so they don't need brackets anymore. Okay, so you don't need to put a bracket around that because it's by itself. Here I did because there was still multiplication to do. So now there's one last step to do, and we're done after that. So for my last step, I'll be able to put it in here. I'm just dividing. When you divide, you subtract the exponents. But the numbers are just regular numbers. So you're going to go negative 864 divided by negative 144. So if you do that on your calculator, I'll get negative 864 divided by negative 144. And that gets me a 6. Okay? And then, so we have, sorry, 17. I wrote that wrong. 15 plus 2, I realize that, sorry, is 17. 15 plus 2 is 17. I always take another look. 6 and 2, 18. So if I have 17 and I'm dividing by x to the 11, you're subtracting because you're canceling away. So then I have x to the 6 left. And I have 18 in the numerator, 5 in the denominator. You cancel away, so you're subtracting that. It'll be y to the 13, and you're done. And you'll notice I did not forget my equal signs along the way because you're concentrating on so much stuff there. Just make sure you don't forget your proper form. Hopefully that try now has kind of consolidated everything again.